Okay, so now it's 2 minutes after 2, so maybe time to start. Thank you all for attending this matchmaking event and new funding opportunities, notably for the geothermal sector. So good afternoon, I'm Philippe Dumas, the Secretary General of EJEC, and it's my pleasure to do the introduction. This event is organized on behalf of different bodies, of course, EJEC, the European Association for Geothermal, but also the Deep Geothermal Implementation Working Group of the set plan, the RHC Renewable and Cooling European Technology Platform, especially the Geothermal Panel, but last but not least, the ETIP on Deep Geothermal. To start with, I'm presenting you the agenda. It's coming, here it is. So I'm doing a really short introduction, mainly presenting you the agenda, because today what is more important is that you have first a good understanding a new funding program from the European Commission. So first, we'll have the pleasure to have Luca Angelino from SINEA to present you the new LIFE program, which has just been launched this summer. Then I will present you our first analysis on what could be the opportunities for the geothermal sectors, notably with different inputs from achieved or ongoing projects, but also according to some priorities of the sector for the future. Then I will give the floor to my colleague Regina Dimitrisina, which will present you the upcoming Horizon Europe calls. You all know that in June, we have already organized the first matchmaking event, but now it's time to give you some reminder about the calls with the deadlines and also final versions of calls which we are not yet published. And then we will conclude this series of presentation, giving the floor to Marco Baresi, which is a member of the European Commission Innovation Fund Expert Group. And he will present you the results of the Innovation Fund, the first calls for large-scale and small-scale projects have been launched last year. We are receiving the first results, so he will present you the results, but also some information about the next call, which is to come. That is for a part of introduction. But as we promised you, we have also matchmaking sessions, so for B2B, and we will organize 3 rooms. I don't know how far you are familiar with this tool, Zoom, but for a moment, we are in the main room all together. But at 3:10, when we have achieved the presentations of the first sessions, you will see that 3 separate Zoom rooms will be created. You will have access to them. You could go to one room, you could leave one room to go to another room, etc., etc. So easy for you to see what is the discussion and different project ideas on deep geothermal, on shallow geothermal, but also on LIFE program, which is a bit less about research and innovation, a bit more about non-technical issues, socioeconomic studies, and what is called in European program CSA, Coordinated and Support Action. We will remind you about these technical specificities at 3:10, but now I think it's time to start the presentation and giving the floor to Luca Angelino for this first presentation about LIFE. What I can tell you is that during the first part of the discussion, we will not take oral questions, but you can take note of the questions you may have, report them in the second session during the matchmaking event. You can also use the chat if you want to share some views with the rest of the participants. I thank you all for attending this meeting. I hope we will have first good presentation and for you increasing your awareness about some funding opportunities, and after a dynamic discussion for matchmaking session. Luca, I'm giving you the floor. Thank you for being with us today and accepting to present the LIFE program.
Thank you, Philippe. Thank you for the invitation on behalf of my agency and the European Commission. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, in full screen mode. No, it's perfect.
Very good. So thank you again for your invitation, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here today to share with you some highlights, the main features of the new LIFE program, which was recently launched, as highlighted by Philippe today. So the idea really is to highlight the main elements of interest, and hopefully pointing to other more interesting details you are able to consult at a later stage while preparing your proposal. Before doing that, just the place where we find the LIFE program. For the 2021-2027 multi-annual financial framework, the European Commission has set a new funding landscape that you can see depicted on this slide, from direct investments through technical advisory services. And as you can see here, the place of LIFE, the role of LIFE is really to help address market barriers hampering the uptake of sustainable solutions. Sustainable solutions because the LIFE program is the only EU program which is 100% dedicated to the delivery of the European Green Deal. And for these 7 years, we will have a budget of over 5 billion euros available. What are we funding under LIFE? We have different grants, action grants, operating grants, especially for NGOs and other forms of funding. But here I would really like to point to two specific subtypes: the standard action projects and other actions, including and especially coordination and support actions, which may be more relevant for the geothermal sector. The LIFE program for the next 7 years will be composed of 4 different sub-programs: the nature and biodiversity, circular economy and quality of life, and what is probably more interesting for you, climate mitigation and adaptation, and clean energy transition. So I'm going to start from the last sub-program, the clean energy transition. If you worked with Intelligent Energy Europe and Horizon 2020, the market uptake part, the energy efficiency part in particular, you may be familiar with the main features, because this sub-program is basically the continuation of those 2 programs initiated in the past by the European Commission. The Clean Energy Transition sub-program will have, over the next 7 years, nearly 1 billion euros available, and will be mostly funding activities such as developing and spreading, disseminating best practices, address market barriers, to mobilize investments, improve skills for sustainable energy, raise awareness, educating and empowering key stakeholders. So we're talking here about coordination and support actions, where we have, like in the past, so this is new to LIFE, but nothing really new if you're familiar with Horizon 2020. We will have very detailed and prescriptive top-down call topics, 18 open for the 2021 call, where we look for international partnerships composed of minimum 3 participants from 3 different eligible countries. The eligible countries for the LIFE program are the EU member states, plus the listed EEA countries. And in that regard, we have already information that Iceland has joined the program, while Norway and Liechtenstein will not join the program, plus other associated countries for which discussions are currently ongoing between the Commission and our partners worldwide. This sub-program will really focus on funding labor costs rather than equipment costs, and the typical budget for each of the 18 topics open at the moment range between 1 and 2 million euros. The typical duration of CSAs is between 18 and 36 months, really depending, of course, on the activities, the purpose and the objectives of each action. So I was already mentioning the the call, which is open, was launched in July 2021, whose deadline for submission of proposals is 12th of January 2022. The budget for this call is 94.5 million euros, and we expect to fund approximately around 60 or 65 projects. The proposals will be evaluated by external experts in the spring 2022, with the objective of initiating and starting the projects around the fall 2022. So the time to grant will be 9 months from a deadline to submission until the beginning of the action. So this is valid for all topics, with the exception of one specific topic called European City Facility, which is lump sum for cities, which will have a different time frame. I'm going through very quickly because I guess you're already familiar. I saw an email circulating to a registered participant, the most relevant topics open under this call. I'll go through very quickly, and I will point to where you can find additional information. So one of the subtopics will be really to facilitate the work of municipalities and local authorities to develop energy transition plans and strategies, to reinforce multi-level climate and energy dialogue, and to implement key provisions of the EU legislative framework. Working on buildings, supporting the renovation wave. We aim to facilitate a greater market uptake of industrialized deep renovation solutions, including, for example, plug-and-play technical building solutions, or prefabricated facade modules. We want to see and facilitate also a better understanding of how to tackle the cooling demand, which is expecting to increase over the next decades, in especially the residential sector, but all types of buildings, but also to address smart readiness and smart and sector integrating energy services. Other broader categories will also include increasing and improving the skills in the construction and the industry services. We also have specific topics to mainstream sustainable finance, or at least finance in the sustainable energy sector. We have two topics open under this category. We also want to support the development of projects at the very local level, including one-stop shops or integrated home renovation services. We will also aim to facilitate the creation of a community of practitioners in that field. We also have technical advisory services through PDA, project development assistance, and we also want to provide technical assistance for the development of community-driven transition in regions affected by the transition from coal, peat, and oil shale. We also have one category and two topics specifically addressing citizens, how to empower citizens, especially in vulnerable districts, and to support the development of energy communities and other citizen-led initiatives across the continent. I was mentioning I went very quickly through the 18 topics open at the moment, but I encourage you also beyond the discussion we will have today to visit our website. You have the link here. I'm happy to share this presentation. And for each of the 18 topics, you will have a specific presentation, the link to the call text, and also some advice provided by my colleagues for each of the topics under this call. So I really encourage you to visit our website and to dig a little bit further for each of the topics. You have a wealth of material available. So this was the fourth sub-program under LIFE. I think and I believe it's also worth highlighting and mentioning the main features of the third sub-program, climate mitigation and adaptation. Here we have three main work streams: mitigation, adaptation, as the title suggests, but also related governance and information. We have 4 scopes open, and I point especially to the third one, increase the generation and use of renewable energy and improvement of energy efficiency. The idea here is to open the door, so this is open and it really respects the bottom-up approach. So as long as the specific topic of focus is not covered by the Clean Energy Transition sub-program, you're welcome to submit applications. I mentioned it's really bottom-up because you have a broader choice on how to address and what to address, as long as this is supporting the implementation of our policy objectives. It's bottom-up. I mentioned we have also differently from the CET, and I will also mention a few features of CET later. We can also finance the cost of durable goods here, and also we don't necessarily require international partnerships. So one applicant from one single country can apply under this sub-program, as long as, of course, the impact and the objectives are ambitious enough. We also have bonus for relevant partnerships, but this is a different characteristic from the CET. So here we talk about standard action projects. So these are, for those familiar with the LIFE program, the traditional LIFE projects. As mentioned, we also can address innovative techniques, methods. We finance durable goods, but also the dissemination of specific best practice. And again, anything which is relevant for the implementation, monitoring, enforcement of relevant European Union legislation. Here, while the co-financing rate of LIFE CET is up to 95%, here is lower. We co-finance, the Commission co-finances up to 60%. And there is also a relevant difference in terms of the maximum duration of the action. Here we can go up to 10 years. To give you an example, just one of related projects supporting renewable energy uptake under the climate change mitigation sub-program, we have the urban wind project, which was implemented in Poland and aimed really at developing and implementing and testing, demonstrating on the ground, innovating technology, exploiting human-induced air streams in the urban environment. For example, from the metro system, or here, as you can see from this picture, a specific prototype, small-scale prototype, adapted to the urban environment. You have a wealth of information also available from the LIFE project database. I'm sharing this presentation. You can use this link and you can see examples of projects already funded under this sub-program. Again, we expect here under this sub-program roughly between 150 and 270 proposals, 50% of which, based on the experience from past years, is for climate mitigation, or 50% or 45% is for climate adaptation, and roughly 10% for governance and information related activities. The indicative budget here, while for CET, we're talking about 94 million euros. For climate mitigation projects, we have available, roughly speaking, 30 million euros. And we expect more or less for the whole sub-program to fund this year, more or less about 40 projects. The application, so we're talking about one-stage application, even under this sub-program. The deadline will be 30th of November. There will be independent evaluations until February 2022, notification around March, April. Then we will start here what we call revision, which is negotiations over the grant agreement to be signed by July 2022. And so we expect projects under this sub-program to start after the summer. So a few words about the structure and the award criteria for under LIFE. to facilitate your work during the application. We'll have three main parts. Part A, which is the administrative forms. We have part B, which is the technical proposal with a technical description. Here, compared to the Horizon 2020, we'll have like a slightly higher number of pages available, 70 pages. However, we don't expect you to write more, but this is rather to keep a little bit the line of the new templates. So follow the new templates, and please do not remove instructions. So that's a very important piece of advice I'd like to give, because removing the instructions or not following the templates can really undermine your work. And part C, which is dedicated to key performance indicators. We will have 4 award criteria, which you see here listed on this slide, and I will go into the detail soon. These will really match part B of the template, and each criterion has a maximum of 20 points. In order to pass each of the criterion, you have to reach 10 points. And the third criterion, impact, has a weight of 1.5, so it will basically value more. The total maximum points available will be 90, and the threshold, the maximum threshold is 55 in order to be eligible. As I said, each of the criteria will need you need to reach at least 10 points. So for criteria, you may remember the 3 criteria under Horizon 2020. If you worked under Horizon 2020, here we have different criteria. However, the principles are very much the same, slightly reshuffled, I would say. The relevance corresponds to a certain extent to the previous excellence, where we want to really understand the concept and the methodology, and to understand that you are very much aware of the state of play and you want to go beyond the state of play. The impact, which is absolutely very important and is very much in line with the first part of the second criterion under Horizon 2020. We want to understand the ambition, because it's a competition, so we want you to be ambitious, but we also want the objectives and the impacts to be credible. The third, quality, corresponds to a large extent to the previous implementation part, where we want to understand how you develop your work plan, the relevant stakeholders involved, in the geographical focus, which needs to be relevant. This criterion also includes the appropriateness of measures to communicate and disseminate the results of your work. And last, the fourth, we evaluate independently under a specific criterion the resources, how you plan to utilize the resources, and the value for money of the proposal, which is extremely important as well. So I'll stop there. I really invite you to follow us on social media. We have now under CINEA 1 newsletter covering news from all the different programs we manage. So you have everything in one place, the Clean Energy newsletter. So we encourage you to subscribe, and also to follow us on social media. Again, I stop there, but I point to the website where you can find the link to the call text, to the questions and answers, and where you can also post new questions when you have any doubt of any specific nature. So I'll stop there, and I really wish you the best of luck with your work and with your proposals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luca. Really precise presentation, and indeed, as you see, a lot of opportunities with this new LIFE program, because it's indeed including clean energy transition. With this presentation, you have seen that there's 18 topics open in clean energy transitions. From that, we have done a review as EJEC of the opportunities for geothermal, and I am presenting you some ideas. What we will do here is a short overview of sorry, 1 second to swap the presentation. an overview of which topics could be interesting for you in this new program. But then you will have one room dedicated for a matchmaking session to look at all these topics in details for discussion. So as presented by Luca, you have different streams. One is on environment. He presented you nature and biodiversity, circular economy and quality of life. Maybe in circular economy, some potential topics of interest for the geothermal sector, but it's not here where you will find the main opportunities. In the other sub-program on climate action, being climate change mitigation and adaptation or clean energy transition, you will find much more interesting opportunities. Why? Because you will see first on climate change mitigation and adaptation a reference to projects covering cities, regions, buildings, and financial instruments, including risk management, insurance. And the codes are both for the ETS sector. So, you know, the ETS sector, it's for electricity or for heating and cooling when the capacity is larger than 20 megawatt thermal, but also for the non-ETS sector. And here we know opportunities for geothermal to decarbonize in buildings, industry, but also agriculture, especially agri-food industry. Here you would see the QL, we speak not only about highly innovative project, because sometimes you will see TRL starting from 4 to 5. Here we pop up two interesting bullet points in this call, is the increase the generation and use of renewables and improve energy efficiency. Opportunities here for geothermal heat pumps, organic ranking cycles, so for the turbines, but also geothermal cooling in supermarkets. A second topic of interest, but here we need much more time to see how it can fit, but it's zero emission mobility and electric recharging materials, clearly indicated an opportunity for project proposals for geothermal lithium extraction from the geothermal brine. So here, the only issue you have is that the call was published this summer, but the deadline is 30th of November. So you have less than 3 months to develop your proposal. But just to show you one specificities that can be of interest for you. The second stream I want to, sub-program I want to much more develop is the one on clean energy transition. So here, Luca presented that just before, so it's the continuation of market uptake in Horizon 2020. They expect for the call to have 60 to 65 projects co-funded. Just have in mind that for Horizon Europe, you have also a market uptake call, but here they plan to support to co-fund 5 to 6 projects. So here we have a larger budget and more opportunities for market uptake. The usual duration of a project they mentioned for such a program is 18 to 36 months, with a typical budget of 1 to 2 million. We speak about coordinated and support action, so socioeconomic studies. The code is open, the deadline is 12th of January, so you have a bit more time also here for your project. Here, a short review now of the topics in clean energy transition. Luca presented you the 18 topics. Me, I will go to just 5 to 6 topics where we could see an interest. One is on policy, where they are asking projects to have an effective implementation of key legislations, and they refer to Energy Efficiency Directive and Renewable Energy Directive. So you know these two pieces of legislation are currently under revision. The Renewable Energy Directive amended was presented 14th of July last summer with an increase in ambition, because we had 32%, now we moved to 40% renewable energy target by 2030. And there's a lot of opportunities we see for geothermal. They mention risk mitigation schemes, they mention heat purchase agreement, they mention more renewability and cooling in buildings, a lot of opportunities also for electricity project, cogeneration, and district heating. Here we mention some topics, you see. It can be collecting data on energy consumption, it can be assessing the existing market barriers and simplification of authorization, certification, licensing procedures. I think you know as me that we have a lot of ideas in geothermal how we can simplify the licensing process both for deep and shallow projects. So have in mind some project for such a call. Another one is on building renovation, so large-scale route of industrialized deep renovation solutions. One of expected impact is in renewable energy generation. So here, for sure, for geothermal heat pumps, people must have a look. As you know, we will discuss that also in a stream later, in a room later. In Horizon Europe, you don't have technology-specific shallow geothermal calls. So here is not technology specific, but it's an opportunity for geothermal heat pumps project. Another call of interest is the one on fostering sustainable energy uptake along the whole value chain in industry and services. So we know that for low to medium temperature, geothermal heating and cooling can supply for the process heat. And notably, I mentioned that before, but I remind you the new recast of the RES directive, and in Article 23, you can find that or contact us if you want the details. It's mentioned promotion of heat purchase agreement for corporate and collective small consumers. So for corporate, it's a where you are not only answer to one request of a new renewable energy directive, but also you help the decarbonization of the industry sector. Another reference in the Renewable Directive is to install highly efficient renewable and cooling systems in buildings, but also in industrial heating and cooling processes. So just to show you that here also it's an area of interest for renewable heating and cooling, and for geothermal, we know that we have opportunities. Last but not least, an important topic, although the cooling demand is not as high as the heating demand, but we know that we have a lot of advantages and we are quite competitive in geothermal cooling, and you have a topic specific on that, facing the increase in cooling demand of buildings, where they are looking for highly efficient systems, but also renewable cooling. And we know that with geothermal, we are not only a renewable solution, but we are also highly efficient systems with coefficient of performance sometimes higher than 20. There's a call, which is broad, but interesting also for us, is innovative financing schemes for sustainable energy investment. You will see the call is referring quite openly to different innovative schemes. Maybe you know that we have developed as a check currently a project which is about to end called Georisk and risk mitigation. So risk mitigation is one of the potential innovative financial schemes with different models for the insurance you build. But we know that it was mentioned before, heat purchase agreement, power purchase agreement. There's a lot of innovation in financing schemes, new business models, both for geothermal heat pumps, district heating and electricity. So also here, opportunities, but a bit different, more on financing. And the second mainstream, what also Luca presented before, is about sustainable finance. I don't know how familiar you are with sustainable finance, but it's a new regulation of the European Union from this year. And notably, they ask specific criteria for geothermal is to justify life cycle emission performance below 100 grams of CO2 equivalent per kilowatt hour. This is not only for electricity, but it's also for combined heat and power, heating and cooling, including with district heating systems, heat pump systems, and thermal storage. This justification is not asked for all renewables, but for geothermal is asked for all technologies. Why they are asking that for geothermal? Because they say that there's a lack of evidence which clearly shows that relevant technologies, so geothermal, is below this level. So what we need to do in such a project, if people are interested, is to see how we can collect evidence, but also see how the G&V life cycle assessment tools developed by the G&G project could be better implemented in a quick near future to collect all this evidence and be able to justify to the Commission that such a threshold could be removed. With that, I'm ending the opportunities we are seeing in life. You see here, I refer to 6 calls. There are 18 calls in total. So really, you need to look at the 18 calls. But on these 6 calls, we will pay a bit more attention. And during the room 3 later, during the matchmaking events, we will detail that a bit. I thank you for your attention. And now I'm giving the floor for a third presentation to my colleague Regina to present you Horizon Europe opportunities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Of course, hello to everyone who is connected and joined our event today. I hope you can see my screen now. As Philippe mentioned, we will go through the ongoing and upcoming calls under Horizon Europe. Before we dive into that, just a quick reminder of what Horizon Europe is. This is the EU's main research and innovation funding program that for the period of 2021-2027 will have a total budget of 95.5 billion euros. And basically this program will succeed the Horizon 2020, the program that I'm convinced that most of you is already familiar with. There has been a few significant changes in the Horizon Europe structure when you compare it to the Horizon 2020 program. And if you will see on this slide here, probably the most important structure that is relevant for the geothermal energy sector is the structure within clusters, which means that Horizon Europe will be divided in specific areas of intervention. And for each area, the European Commission is going to publish work programs that will list the calls that are specific to each technology. So probably one of the most important work program and cluster for geothermal energy industry will be the one on climate, energy, and mobility highlighted in red on this slide. Now, one important side to understand when applying for Horizon Europe funding is what types of action can be funded under this program. And normally, Horizon Europe funds 3 types of action, which is research and innovation action, and coordination and support action. For research and innovation, these are referring to activities that establish new knowledge or explores feasibility of new or improved technology, product, or processes. This can refer starting with basic and applied research to technology development and integration, testing, and having prototypes in a lab or simulated environment. For innovation actions, here we're speaking about projects that require a higher TRL level. And these are referring to activities that are directly aiming at producing plans and arrangements or designs for new and improved products or technologies. For the coordination and support actions, these are basically referred to measures that are related to standardization, dissemination, communication, policy awareness, and policy dialogues. So everything that can be categorized as support services for a given project, technology, or idea. Now, if we look at Horizon Europe, we have identified opportunities for deep geothermal, shallow geothermal, and geothermal lithium project proposals. If I mentioned at the beginning that Horizon Europe is directly applied for research and innovation actions, which means that there are not so many opportunities for deep geothermal projects due to the technology nature of these projects. Nevertheless, what can be applied to deep geothermal within Horizon Europe are the following calls that you see on the slide. The first one is the demonstration of the use of high temperature geothermal reservoirs to provide energy storage for the energy system. The second one is about full-scale demonstration of heat upgrade technologies with supply temperature in the range of 90 to 160 degrees. And the third one is about solutions for more sustainable geothermal energy. This call, I have to highlight, that can be applicable to both shallow and geothermal project proposals. As you can see, the EU contribution per project proposal varies from topic to topic. For the use of high temperature geothermal reservoirs, the EU will contribute with 20 million euros, while, for example, for solutions for more sustainable geothermal energy, the budget would be around 5 million euros from the EU side. And each of these calls, of course, have different deadlines for applications. Now, when it comes to shallow geothermal project proposals, here we've identified plenty actually of them, and we will not have the time to go through each call identified for shallow geothermal now, but we will highlight the ones that are particularly relevant. So first, we've seen that the Commission listed in the work program a topic on advanced energy performance assessment and certification. Then we have the industrialization of deep renovation workflows for energy efficient buildings. And there is also a call that is focused on advanced data-driven monitoring of building stock of energy performance. While these calls cannot be directly related to geothermal projects, there are more of actions that are covering the cross-sectoral topics or social data management aspects that are indirectly also relevant to geothermal. On this slide, we can see the topics of demonstration of integrated technology solutions for buildings with performance guarantees. Then we have the call on cost-effective, sustainable renovation packages that is looking into integration of renewable energy sources, and that also includes reused and recycled materials for buildings. And the third one is about strengthening the European coordination and exchange for innovation uptake towards sustainability and social inclusion in the built environment that is directly linked to the European Bauhaus initiative. So these are the topics that are more relevant for the buildings and renovations topics. Again, the budget is quite different from topic to topic. And the deadlines are actually the same for all of this topic and calls, which is the 25th of January, 2021. In the next slide, we've highlighted also another bunch of calls that are relevant for shallow geothermal proposals. The first topic, for example, we see a call on next generation of renewable energy technologies. So the scope of this call will be to focus on high risk and high return technology developments for game-changing renewable technologies, with a specific focus on heating and cooling systems and storage systems and integration of renewable technologies into a single energy generation system. The EU is planning to contribute to this project proposal with a budget of up to 3 million euros. And you will have a deadline up to 23rd of February to apply for this call. The second topic is about the direct renewable integration into process energy demands with a particular focus on chemical industry. And this call is looking into funding projects that will develop a technology and methodology of integrating renewable energy sources in chemical processing by substituting, of course, fossil process energy. The budget for this call is foreseen to be between 3 to 5 million euros contribution from the EU. And the deadline will be a longer one for this call, which is the 27th of October. And the last topic and call that is quite relevant again for geothermal industry, it's about the Renewable Energy Incorporation in agriculture and forestry. As we know already, geothermal can be applied in multiple ways to agriculture. And the focus of this call will be directed at particular incorporation of renewable technologies in agriculture, with a focus on electricity or heating and cooling, waste and land management needs. So This call is basically perfectly fitted within the geothermal project proposal scope. The contribution of the EU for this kind of proposals would be around 7.5 million euros. And of course, the deadline is quite a long one for the 27th of October. Last but not least, as I mentioned at the beginning, Horizon Europe provides opportunities not only for shallow and deep geothermal, but we've identified calls that are directly relevant for geothermal lithium project proposals. And here we can see two examples of this on the screen. The first one is about reducing environmental footprint and improving circularity in extractive and processing value chains. So what the Commission is looking within this particular call is to have actions that would develop sustainable solutions that will reduce dependence of extractive activities on carbon-related energy sources and process emissions. What the project proposals should particularly focus on within this call is to address the reducing materials use, water and waste valorization at all stages of the extractive and processing cycle. So this particular topic is of a significant relevance to geothermal lithium proposals. The EU is planning to contribute with 12 million budget to this call, and the deadline is on the 23rd of September. And the second call that you can see on the screen is about building innovative value chains from raw materials to sustainable products. This is a project that is directed at innovation actions. And the expectation from the European Commission side within this call would be to have project proposals that would develop innovative and sustainable technology and business solutions as well for new high value added and sustainable products with enhanced functional properties based on the EU produced raw materials. And again, the budget is the same as for the first call. The EU is planning to contribute with 12 million euros and with the same deadline in September 2021, which is a rather close one. So from my side, that would be it. As Philippe mentioned, we will have a dedicated Zoom room in the breakout session for matchmaking, specifically focused on shallow geothermal project proposals. So I will be happy to see you there and help you navigate through the calls on shallow geothermal. Philippe, back to you.
Thank you, Regina. I think you have all digested this information, but indeed during the room, you will have opportunities to have again this presentation and discuss them into details. Now I'm giving the floor to Marco Baresi to present you the Innovation Fund and its first results. Marco, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Innovation Fund is one of the world's largest funding programs for the demonstration of innovative low carbon technologies. So it's sure of interest to understand how we can apply for our sector for geothermal. Innovation Fund is the successor of the NER 300 program. It finances innovative clean energy technology projects covering up to 60% of the additional cost. And it will provide around 20 billion euro of support over 2020-2030, depending on the carbon price. As we know, the carbon price is increased in this period, so most probably this amount will be higher for the future. And the Innovation Fund will finance the commercial demonstration of innovative low carbon technologies. We expect 1-2 calls per year for small and large scale projects. Large scale are projects with a capital expenditure above 7.5 million. A small scale are projects with total capital cost below 7.5 million. Project applying must be in EU ETS countries, but applying companies does not need to be from these countries. Here below, you can find the link of the Innovation Fund website. What is financed with Innovation Fund? The Innovation Fund focuses on highly innovative technologies and big flagship projects within Europe that can bring on significant emission reduction. It is about sharing the risk with project promoters to help with the demonstration of first-of-the-kind, highly innovative projects. The area covered, the area of our interest are sure concerning the renewable energy generation, geothermal, so the energy storage, but also there are carbon capture and utilization, CCU, construction and operation of carbon capture and storage, the CCS, and the news from the former NER 300 is the introduction of the possibility to submit project for the innovative low carbon technologies in energy intensive industries. Support projects in all eligible sector and member states, Norway and Iceland. This chart is complementary for Innovation Fund. Innovation Fund is focused on first of the kind. So it means that you have already finished the development of the project and you need to realize the first of the kind application. And the Innovation Fund is devoted to that. But there are also other possibilities. Philippe has already finished to mention the Horizon Europe or LIFE. But also there are other facilities like, for example, the Connecting Euro facility, the Modernization Fund, or the Cohesion Fund, and InvestEU. Last but not least, also all the member state funding. So it is possible, if the project is challenging, is a large project, to build a sort of cluster of funding to fund the overall project. The criteria for project selections are 5. The first one is the greenhouse gas emission savings over the first 10 years of operation. The second is the degree of innovation. So it means breakthrough technologies, 2050 climate neutrality target consistency, and so on. The third is the project maturity and due diligence. It's a relevant criteria. Is a strong difference with, for example, the NER 300 former projects. It means that you have to demonstrate how robust is your project development in terms of feasibility, planning, authorization, business plan, financial model. More the project maturity, higher the score. The fourth criteria is the scalability. What is the potential in 2050 of this technology, with a focus on GHG emission reduction, number and scale of application. And the last criteria is the cost efficiency. The calculation of additional CAPEX and OPEX requested grant in relation to promised GHG emission avoidance. So it means to calculate the CO2 reduction in terms of the grant expected for the project. Less the grant expected compared to the same GHG emission avoidance obtained, higher the score also in this case. Grant financing for large-scale projects is up to 60% of the additional capital and operational cost for the first 10 years of operations. For small-scale project is a bit simple because there are simplified operations. Is up to 60% of the capital cost. In terms of disbursement, it's interesting because the up to 40% of the innovation fund support must be provided without a string attached. Is not conditioned to performance, but on completion of project milestones. So you define the milestone you have to reach, and you can receive the 40% support. Up to 60% of funding conditioned to verified GHG emissions savings. There is a threshold. If you reach the 75% of the promised savings, you obtain the 100% grant. Less saving delivered to the 75% threshold obtained, it means that you have to repay the part of the grant received. Application and evaluation. application document template will be made available as the official call is official launch. And the evaluation process is executed by the CNEA, the executive agency we have seen before, and the external experts. The first call of Innovation Fund was for large-scale project. It was launched in the 3rd of July, 2020. And it was a two-stage submission. So it means that you have to overcome the first stage, and after that you submit the second stage. 311 applications for innovative clean tech project was submitted. And currently the second stage, in the second stage, there are 66 applications that are currently being evaluated. We expect in the next few weeks, days, the evaluation results by the Q4 2021, and the awards of the grants for this first call, it will be in Q1 2022. Innovation Fund results for the small scale project. Small scale, I remember, is the less than 7.5 million euros investment. In July 2021, the European Commission published the result of the first call. 118 million of investment will be disbursed for 32 small-scale innovative projects located in 14 EU member states, Iceland and Norway. And interesting is the success rate of this eligible proposal that is in the range of 18%. This is a chart showing different cluster of projects. Another key topic is concerning the project development assistance. It is possible to submit the request of funding for project development assistance in order to prepare all the documentation to submit the project. And also you have seen that there are 15 projects in this stage. There are 2 projects in geothermal approved in these small scale projects, so it's quite big interesting results. One is the Carbfix, located in Iceland, that also received the 2020 EGEC Innovation Award. This project is the first scale CO2 capture and mineral storage at the Elishady power station. And the second project is the closed carbon geothermal energy located in Croatia under the framework of renewable heating and cooling. Here below you can see the link with all the approved projects. Upcoming calls. The call for large scale project is changed due to the amendment we have done also in the expert group panel. So it's not in 2 stages, but it became a single stage. And the launch of the second large scale call is expected for the 26th of October 2021. It is one single stage, as I told, with the deadline of the 1st of March 2022. We expect the award and grants for project development assistance in Q4 2022. The expected volume for this second call is in the range of 1.3–1.5 billion euros. Upcoming calls for the small scale project proposal, less than 7.5 million euros, is planning to be launched in March 2022, the 15th of March. And information and results will be available on Q1 2023, award as for Q2 2023. So that's all from my side. As I told you, it's an interesting opportunity also for geothermal. Philippe, the floor is yours for the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco. Really interesting indeed to see this program, because indeed we were aware about the NR 300 and the results of this, and the Innovation Fund seems a new opportunity, even more interesting. So good to see that also it's not only for large scale, but also small scale projects. So geothermal, we know that we are sizable, so we can deal with both. Now we are ending the first session of the matchmaking session. So I will now present you briefly how we will organize the second session. So we will have 3 rooms. You can have access to them through the bottom button on the Zoom tool. The room 1 is to discuss the Horizon Europe calls on deep geothermal projects. You have seen in the presentation from Regina that you have notably 3 technology-specific calls on deep geothermal energy. So we will discuss that with people interested in. The room number 2 is about Horizon Europe calls on shallow geothermal project proposals. Here you see that they are not technology specific, but anyway, you have opportunities in buildings and sometimes in services for the demand side to develop a project proposal. And in the room number 3, we will discuss the live program opportunities for geothermal. So the 6 topics on the 18 codes I printed you, but this is open for discussion. If you have identify a code which was not presented, but you have a project ideas that you want to share, we are open to also discuss it. So with now, I'm closing the first session. I invite all of you to join the breakout rooms, and we see each other in the different rooms. So I will manage room number 1, Regina will manage room number 2, and my colleague Thomas will manage room number 3. As I mentioned, you can jump from one room to another room. We run this second session until 20 to 4, so we have 35 minutes to discuss that. We are open to extend for 5 to 10 minutes maximum in case the discussion is really dynamic. Thank you all for attending this event, and see you in the different rooms.